Well, hello Divi Nation. Welcome to a brand new Divi use case live stream where each week we show you how to add new design and functionality to your Divi websites. And in this live stream tutorial today, we're going to be showing you how you can create a fluid hero section for your Divi website using some fluid design principles that are a little bit different from your traditional responsive design techniques. And don't forget to check the video description for more info on this live stream, including a link to the blog post that goes along with it. So let's not waste any time and let's jump in and get started. All right, so welcome everyone. I really do appreciate you joining us today. And feel free to let us know where you're from. Say hello in the comments, in the chat here. I'm just going to check and make sure. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me okay, and that the stream is coming in good for you guys. All right. All right, so still trickling in here. So we're just going to plug along here and still waiting for my thumbs up. Looks like the stream is taking a little bit to get through to you guys. So I'm just gonna pause for a moment, let you guys come in. As you can see in the background here is a little preview of what we're gonna be doing today. And this is the, oh, thank you, Don, for the thumbs up. Hello, Scott. Welcome. We are rocking and rolling now. We have, if you're just joining us as you're coming in today, we're going to be designing a fluid hero section, as you can see here in the background. This is a design that uses some fluid design techniques that really are really cool once you learn the technique behind it. It really allows you to create some really nice fluid design to your page so that it stays consistent on all browsers. Just to give you kind of a preview of what it can do. This is, as you can see, I can shrink my browser window size here on this example. Let's see. I don't want to do that. Messing up my... Okay, let's see. Bring that back. All right. Now, if you watch me adjust the window here, once it gets to this, it's actually at 1700 is the max width. Once it gets there, you can see everything scales nice and fluidly, right? The design all stays in place and it doesn't break to different lines. As you can see, the text, the button, even the little border at the top stays put. And as we get kind of close to your mobile size or phone size there, it all kind of stays in place. And you can see that fluid design at work to kind of scale things really smoothly, really nicely. That way you don't have to worry about updating the design in different breakpoints, stuff like that. So it's really convenient tool once you have it all set up to have your design really consistent on all browser widths. So we're going to be showing you how to do that. Let's check the chat here for a moment. Let's see. Pedro, welcome. Scott, thanks for the thumbs up. Susanna, sorry. Welcome. All right. Let's see. Newman, welcome. Great to see you. Let's see. MB. Let's see. Newman, please also guide Divi slider responsive issue. Okay, yeah. So maybe you can apply some of these techniques we're going to be doing today to the slider as well. All right, let's keep cracking. So I'm going to start with a new page. I know some of you are just joining us. I do want to welcome you. Today we're showing you how to build a fluid hero section. And we are going to create a new page here in the front end using the Divi builder. So what I'm going to do to get started is I'm not going to add a row or anything. I'm just going to update the section here. So I'm going to go to my section settings and I'm going to add a background. And it's just going to be a background gradient. I'm pasting it in here just to speed things up, but I'll show you what has been added. So there's a left red color on the left gradient, and then there's like a really dark gray, almost black color on the right. And then I added a gradient direction of 45 degrees. That gives us that nice angle there. And then I put the start position to 30%, so it's going to get right to about there. And then the end position to 0, that gives me that straight line, so there's no blur. And so once that's in place, we're ready to go to the design tab. So under basically all I want to do for my section here under the design tab is take out my default padding. I'm going to set it to 0 at the top and bottom. Get rid of that top and bottom padding because I want my module to sit at the very top here. So I'll save that out. Let's go ahead and create our first row. So I'm going to do a 1-column row inside the section. And I'm not going to add my module yet. I'm going to update the row settings. So I'm going to go to my row settings. Under my design tab, under the sizing, I'm going to do a custom gutter width of 1. Take out any margins or anything like that. And then I'm going to set the width to 100%. And I just clicked the button that knocked me out. Must be a little bit too excited today. All right, there we go. 100% width, and then we're going to do a max width of 1700. So if the 1700 max width here is important because yes, theoretically we could have it continually kind of scale with the browser width, especially like on really large screens like 1920 width, stuff like that. But I thought I think adding a max width to the design itself will help to make things consistent because things can get kind of unpredictable and crazy on really large monitors and things like that. So set the max width to something like 1700 or whatever it is you want. And I'll do a min height just because I want this to be full screen on desktop. So I'll just do a min height of 100 VH. That's going to make sure it spans the full viewport height so that my background will stay consistent. And then we can change that on tablet. We can set it to none. And then on phone, we can set it to none, something like that. Okay. What did I just do? Oh, I set the set the height, not the min height. So let's take that out. All right, min height, 100 viewport height, and then let's just keep it auto on tablet and mobile. All right. And let's come down to the spacing. Let's take out that top and bottom spacing of my row as well. All right, so let's continue on with our first module. So our first thing we're going to do is create a text module. This is going to be our heading. So I'm going to do a text module. And you can see that text is really wide because it's spanning the full width of my row there. And I do want to add a custom H1 heading here. And the only thing custom about it really is in the HTML, I wrap that period or that period there with a span tag that added a color to it. So that's all I did there. And you can see the blog post, and I've linked it to the video description there if you want to check out or grab that HTML for yourself. The next thing I'm going to do before I do anything else, I'm going to go to my advanced tab. And here's the kind of the key to creating this fluid design. And this is we're going to create a fluids hero section, but it's going to be built upon all these modules that are going to have at the root of each of these modules a fluid font size. So that's the key here. So we make the root font size fluid on each of these modules, and then we style all the elements of the module using the em length unit, the em length unit, which is going to be relative to that font size, that root font size on the module. So if that's all confusing to you, hopefully it'll make sense as we continue on. But that's kind of the key here. It's like a 1-2 punch. You give it the module a fluid font size, and then you style the module using em length units, which will refer back or be relative to that font size, and everything's going to kind of move. All the sizing will kind of scale with one another perfectly. So for this font size, we're going to use the fluid font size. We're going to use the clamp CSS function there. And what this is going to do, let's see. And you can see there, I'm not sure if you can see, but this is the font size clamp, and the 32 pixels is actually the, let's see if I can zoom in differently. There you go. The 32 pixels is actually the minimum font size. So that's what clamp does. So it sets a min value. Disregard this little error there. It's still going to work. Just ignore that. The 32 pixels is the minimum font size. Here is a fluid font size, the 4.1 VW, and 70 pixels is the max font size. So it's basically going to, if you start on a desktop, it's going to be, the max, it's going to stop at 70 pixels. That's as large as the font size is going to get. And then when it scales down, let's say you're shrinking the browser, it's going to kick in this 4.1 VW whenever it becomes that size. And then it's going to stop at 32 pixels. So the fluid aspect is really this one here. And that's because it's going to be relative to the viewport width, which is the width of your browser. So let's get out of here for a moment. And so that fluid font size, okay, is going to be important because once we go to our design tab and we go to our heading text, and let's say we add a heading text size, let's give it 1 em. Okay. Now you can see it's the em is relative to the fluid font size or the root font size, which we've added here. So it's just referring back to that. So if let's go back to the heading text size here. So if I added like 2 em, it's going to get really large. It's just going to, size it according to em length units, and then it will stay fluid. But we're going to keep it at 1 em for the heading text size. We can change the heading font. Let's just do Montserrat, wherever that is. And let's make it heavy. And let's change the heading text color to white. Now for the header letter spacing, if you do want to add letter spacing, just go ahead and use the EM length unit. And I put letters instead of zeros. So that'll add the letter spacing you need using the EM length unit. That way it stays fluid. Again, always use the EM length unit for sizing elements within the module that refer back to the fluid font size. Heading line height, you see it's already using EM length units. So I can just bring it up to 1.2. All right, that looks good. And again, for let's say like spacing, let's go to our spacing. We can add 2 EM for the top and bottom, and even the left and right. So that adds the padding I need using the EM length unit. That's a bit too much. Let's bring it down to 1 EM for the all the way around. And let's go ahead and add a border to this, just to kind of remind you where we're going with this. This is the heading here, but on this text module, we're going to add a border. That's this white border around here. And let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to add the border width, which is going to be 1 EM. You can see that border now is all the way around. And so since it's 1 EM, you can know that, referring back to our fluid text size, the border now is going to have a max width of 70 pixels, a fluid width of 4.1 VW, and then a minimum width of 32 pixels, just like our heading text. So the border is going to be relative to that size as well. And let's give the border color a white color, and then I'm going to hide it. It's a cool design trick here. Just hide it on the, or give it a transparent color on the left side, and give it a transparent color on the bottom. And that gives us that nice kind of partial framing design element for our text. All right. I think, yeah, we're good. Let's do a max width. I need to do a max width on my text element. Let's do that. And I think I'm going to go with let's go back to our sizing here. And I can size this and give it a max width because I know it's going to scale. So if I use, let's say 13 EM, and you can play around and get the size that you want. But that looks about right. I kind of want to make sure that it stays about 50% width of the entire browser width. So 13 EM is about right. And let's go ahead and make it align to the right there. Let me move this over and move it up a bit so it's outside of my face. Okay. And then, so that looks good. Let's see, what else do I need to do? I think that's it for the header. We can save that out, and just to kind of give you a little preview, I'm just going to open it up in a new tab here. And let's just move it just to show you what the responsive nature of this design is doing. See, as I shrink the browser width, it's now on that 4.1 VW size, which is relative to the browser width. And then once it gets to the max, it's going to be at 70 pixels. And then it's going to go all the way down, and it's going to stop at 32 pixels. So that's the max or minimum 32 pixels. All right, I know I'm going quick. Hopefully I haven't ignored you too long. If you are just joining us, I do want to welcome you today to today's Divi use case live stream. Today we're showing you how to build a fluid hero section in Divi. And if you want to check out more, there's a link to the blog post that goes along with this tutorial in the show notes in the video description. Check that out. And we have created our first fluid Divi text module here with a heading in it and a border. And our next step, let me check the chats. Hi, John. Didn't want to ignore you. So I got a couple questions here. Prim from Bangladesh. Let's see. You want Divi's basic tutorial for to start off with Divi? Yeah, I mean, I know we've kind of been hitting hard with some more advanced stuff lately using the Divi builder, and that's really in large part because we've covered a whole lot of wonderful basic starter type designs in our blog. So and even in our documentation. So if you haven't checked that out, Prim, definitely do that. Just search in our blog for anything that you would want to learn. We probably have covered it. The MB, where's BJ? BJ he's still here. He's going strong. Not here, not in my house, but wherever he lives. He's still with us. Pedro, EM units are relative to font sizes? Yes. So if you do a quick search, there's an ultimate guide on our blog to using length units, and it goes in a great description about what those are and how to use them. The EM length unit is relative to the element's root font size. So if your the root font size is 12 pixels, then one EM is going to be 12 pixels. Good question. Yes. So the EM length, Pedro asked, so the EM length unit with the root font size is what gives everything the fluid design. Yes, correct. And hello, Claudio. Welcome. Glad you're here. Let's continue on. So our next step, now that we have our text heading here, is to add just a design element. If you look back in our finished design, you see that red kind of accent border here. Well, I want to add that to my design, but I also want to make sure that it scales fluidly with all the other elements. So an easy way to do that is to simply duplicate this text module. So I'm going to duplicate the text module, and I'm going to update it. So I'm going to take out my text. I don't need it. I just want that border, right? So I just want to go to my design tab, go to my border. Let's see, before I update the border colors and size and all that, let's go to the actual size of the module itself. Right now it's at 13 EM. Let's split that in half. So let's do, I think I can do math. So 6.5 EM. So that kind of puts it half the size as this one here. And let's give it a height. I'll do 3.25. That's kind of half of that. And again, using the EM length unit. And then I'm going to go down to my border. And now I want to change the color. Let's make sure I got the right color here. It's that same red. Paste it in there. So now I got the color I need. I just need to shrink it down. So remember, it's using the EM length unit, and it's already, remember, it's it has because I duplicated it, it has the same root font size, that fluid root font size. So I can use it and it's going to definitely stay the same, scale the same way with that heading text module up there. So, but this border size, I want to bring it down. Let's do a 0.5. So half of the width, 0.5 EM. And then now I need to position it. And an easy way to do that is to give it an absolute position. Let's do that. So I'm going to do absolute position. And that's going to make it jump way over there. And make the location top right. And that's actually cool looking in and of itself. Ooh, that's weird. The border, no, that's right. It's because I scrolled down a little bit. Okay. So that's a cool design in and of itself, but if we want to kind of make sure it sits right on the inside of this border, we need to give it a vertical offset. And what length unit are we going to use, you might ask? The EM length unit. So 1 EM, so that it stays, I know that that width of that border is 1 EM, so I just need to offset it by the same value on both the vertical and horizontal. That's going to place it right where we need it. 1 EM on both. All right, that takes care of that. Next, we'll do our little subtitle text. We're going to do a new text module. And let's move this over for now until we position it. Add some mock text in here. And we're going to add a different root font size for this one because we're using body text, which is kind of smaller. In general, we don't want it to get too big, so we're not going to use the same fluid font size. We're going to add a different one. So this one we're going to use is going to, again, use the clamp function, the CSS function. And we're going to add a minimum of 14 pixels, a fluid or length unit of, or VW length unit of 1.4, and then 24 pixels will be the max font size. So now I go to my design tab and we can edit our text. Let's just do, let's keep the default there. We don't need to change that. Let's do a semi-bold though, font weight. Give it a white color. I need to make sure my text size is 1 EM. And then my line height, let's just do 1.6 EM. And the max width for this, we're going to add a max width to it. Let's go to our design tab. Let's do 19 EM. All right, so that's about, again, we can get it exactly how we want it to look here, and we can pretty much be sure that it's going to stay that way on all browser widths, because, you know, it's going to shrink in size and scale in size according to that fluid font size we gave it. So max width of 19 EM. Let's go ahead and give it some spacing. We're going to do a margin at the top. We're going to add 2 EM. It brings it down a bit below that. Wait, I added it to the top. Sorry. Let's do it to the bottom. And then on the left, I'm going to do auto. So that's going to make it kind of align to the right. And on the right margin, I'm going to add a 5 EM. That'll bring it away from the edge a bit. All right, so there you go. Let's save that out. Next, we're going to add a button. So move this over again. They have the button over here. And we're going to add a new, let's just add some button text here. We're going to, 7-day free trial. Add whatever you want though. And then for the under my advanced tab under custom CSS, for the main element, I am going to add a new font size. So this one is going to be more targeted to a button size. So minimum font size of 20, a 2.35 VW, and a 40 pixel max font size. And once that's in place, let's go to our design tab. Let's align our button to the right. Now we can move our settings mode over here. There we go. Let's use some custom styles for button. For the font color or the text color, this is important. Just go ahead for the button text size. Don't add the 1 EM here. Just leave it alone so it inherits it by default. I think if you add the 1 EM, it's going to override or bypass that root font size for this module. So just leave it alone and it'll work its magic. But the text color, let's go ahead and add that red. And let's do the background. Let's do a gradient. So I'm going to do, on the left, I'm going to do a transparent. And on the right, I'm going to do white. Then I'm going to come down here and change my gradient direction to 45 degrees. And we're going to start it at 25%. And this is just cool design here. And then for the end position, let's do 0. And so now I have that nice diagonal background gradient there. I don't want a border width, so I can take that out. But if I did want a border, I would use the EM length unit to add that. And just so you know, this 25%, that's also kind of a fluid design because it's going to be inheriting or based on the width of the button itself. So as the button text shrinks, which is using EM length units, the size of the button will shrink as well. And so this 25% will stay relative to the size of the button. So everything's going to look consistent. All right. Let's take out the border radius. I don't need that. I can add the button font. Let's just do Montserrat again. Give it a heavy weight. Let's move this over. And then, let's see. Button font size. Oh, let's do the italic. That looks good. And for the button icon, let's just do this triangle. And let's make sure that we can see it on all the time. So only show icon on hover for button. No. And let's place it to the left. There you go. That's good. Let's add some spacing. So the spacing of the button should by default use EM length units. But if you wanted to update it, make sure you do use the EM length units. So like, for example, I'm going to use 0.2 EM at the top and bottom. And then on the left, I'm going to use 1.5 EM. And on the right, I'm going to do 1 EM. All right. I'm going to save that out. Let's really quick check the result on a live page. So you can see now as I shrink it, you can see everything scales nicely. Okay, let's go all the way to our minimum. You see everything kind of stays in place once we get to the minimum, and it stays in place when we get to the maximum. All right. All right, so real quick in the comments, I see Michael asked, could you give us a link to the ultimate guide on EM length units, I'm assuming? So yeah, sure, let me give you that real quick. Or the, sorry, yeah, just length units in general. All right, I gave you the link there. And hello, Tim from Florida, welcome. Yes, and Ray, thanks for asking. This video will be uploaded and available in our YouTube and Facebook pages. So it'll be up, sometime after the live stream is done. So good question. All right, let's continue on. Let's see. Okay, so right now we added our button. Now we're going to add the last step, which is that image to the left. Now, I do have a 1-column row. So, and I do that because I want to make sure that I have room for everything. And if I added a column there, then it becomes 250% width columns and it kind of messes things up. So I'm just going to keep it all in a nice wide 1-column layout. And then to add my image, let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to add an image module here right underneath my button. And let's go ahead and add the image here. Okay, so there's my image. Probably can't see it very well because my head's in the way, but the image has been added. Now, what I want to do is go to the Design tab under my image alignment. I'm going to keep it left, but once we get to the mobile version, let's get this out of the way, I want to make sure that it's centered. All right. And let's go back. Let's under our sizing for our image, let's do, well, so that you can see it, let's go over to the Advanced tab and let's give it that absolute position that it needs. So I'm just going to give it an absolute position. That's going to automatically position it outside of the kind of flow of the document and position it at the top left of the column or row, which is what we want. But on, let's see, on desktop and desktop and tablet, I want it absolute. But once I get back to the mobile version, I don't want it. I'm gonna go back to, let's do relative. That way it sits underneath the content. And you can see it's too wide for my tablet view. I'm gonna fix that. So let's go over to my design tab. Oh, I forgot to do my vertical offset. So under my position, I gave it an absolute, but you can see it's sitting right snug at the top there and on the left of my row. So I'm gonna give it an offset. I mean, I could, if I wanted to, just kind of give it an absolute position here, or location there, and it'll kind of just stay in place, which is fine for now. But you could also like keep it at the top and use a 30 vmin length unit, and that's going to be again, you can refer to that ultimate guide if you have any questions on what the vmin is, and that's basically going to take the minimum width or height of the viewport with whichever is less. So that's a bit confusing, I know. Let's just use the centered, left centered location for now. All right. And then for phone, yeah, it's going to go back to relative position. So that's good. All right, so that's about it. Let's go ahead and save it out. Oh, I do need to give my image a max width. That's what I forgot to do. All right, so going back, I need to make sure that my sizing of my image, all right, back to the image, max width is going to be 48%. And that's because I don't want it to go, you know, into the other side of the page, basically. So I don't want it to span more than 50% of the width of the browser. So just give it a max width of 48%. And on desktop and tablet, and then back when we get to the, let's do 48% again on tablet, and then on phone, let's do 70% because that's centered already, so we're good. And let's, just so we have a little bit of padding on the left, I'm just going to add 4% padding on the left side. And that about does it. And let's save it out and see what we have. There's my image. As I shrink it down, everything kind of stays in place, which is nice, till we get to the bottom. And you can see that I need some more spacing below my button and between my image. I can do that as well. But there it is. Let's see if we have any questions before we wrap things up today. All right, so let's see. I missed this question from Theocaris. I'm not sure I pronounced your name, sorry. But what do you mean when you say fluid design? Sorry, I missed the beginning. Okay, so basically, it is a good reminder. Fluid design scales, or as I define it, scales fluidly with the browser width. And usually fluid design involves using percentage length units or VW length units. And to really capture the design that we've done today, we're using a combination of a fluid font size that we added to each of our modules. And then we sized everything in that module using the EM length unit, which is going to be relative to that fluid font size. So everything's going to scale fluidly as you shrink the browser. As you can see, the actual size of all of these elements are scaling with each other so that the design stays consistent. So you don't need to worry about things breaking on different viewport widths. That's a quick explanation. I know it was a mouthful, but all right. And thanks for the link there, Tanya. Let's see, any other questions before we go? Greetings. Thanks, Michael. Fox K, welcome from the Netherlands. All right, I think we're good. Let's take a look at the final design one more time as I scale. Everything's going to be nice and fluid. And when I get to mobile, and you can see when I get to like even smaller, things start to kind of break a little bit, but you can tweak it to whatever you want. So hopefully we learned, or you and I learned some new things with using fluid design, using the font size as the fluid font size as the root of each module, and then sizing each element with the EM length unit. Okay. I think we're done. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. That's all I have for you today. Give us a thumbs up if you like the video. Also, make sure and subscribe to our blog newsletter, our YouTube channel, and like us on Facebook. And don't forget to click to get those notifications. That way we can let you know every time we have something new for you, like another use case live stream like we did today. And we look forward to seeing you again next week on Tuesday, 3 p.m. Eastern for another Divi use case live stream. And we'll be seeing you guys in our next video. Thanks again for watching. Goodbye.